online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound, the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, which, as Bob mentioned, prior to our 7 o'clock kickoff, is in a celebratory mode. If you'd like there's a red button version where you can find out how it would have been if we'd lost against Reading. But fantastic news to get that 1-0 win, and Bob watched the game, and it really was a dramatic game, to say the least.
It was amongst the most dramatic 1-0 wins that you could probably watch, really. And so nice to actually be doing a Wycombe Wanderers show when we've won on a Tuesday, which I think has only happened once before in the history of the show. Absolutely, and follows on from a draw at the weekend as well. Yes, indeed, which wasn't the most exciting game of football in the world, but even so, a point's a point, and, in a way at Milwall, tough place to go and all of that, they'd won the last three, so that's not to be sniffed at. No, they do say that, don't they? And they do, yes. Don't sniff at that. That's what Gareth says to the team when they come back. Don't sniff at that, he says. Oh, that was okay. No sniffing in my dressing room, he says. Yeah, we can do with the points, really, all three rather than one, between now and the end of the season. Thank you very much. And how they responded against Reading. Absolutely. Coming up, we'll hear from the manager, get his thoughts after the Reading game. We'll hear from another Gareth as well, Gareth McCleary. We'll hear from David Stockdale, Alex Samuel on the way as well, and former defender who made over 300 appearances for the club, Matt Crossley, will be joining us as well. Lots to look forward to. Yeah, looking forward to that. Always good to catch up with the ex-players to find out their thoughts and their memories from, obviously, Adams Park and Lokes Park as well. And a birthday today as well. Yes, indeed. Yes, happy birthday to Scott Cashgett. Big happy birthday! Happy birthday, Scott. He's probably not listening, but he might do on the what's it called, podcast. That's it. Yes. Yeah. Maybe. That's always a good way of catching up with the show. Available on all popular podcast providers. Yes, the 3 Ps. That was a somewhat seamless plug for the podcast version of the programme. I was quite impressed with that. Yeah, we didn't have to have it written down this time. No rehearsal required. It was all very spontaneous. So let's briefly cast our mind back to Saturday and the draw against Milwall. As you say, no goals clearly, but a point and no goals conceded as well. No, well, and that was, definitely a plus point. David Stockdale is a bit of a revelation. We've been talking about Ryan Alsop probably being player of the season, and he has been fantastic. But how wonderful it's been to, just be able to bring David Stockdale into the team, and he's performed absolutely brilliantly, which is, of course, what we've been hearing about his appearances for Stevenage, and he's now carried that on with Wycombe. And he's had such an influence on the team, as you'll hear from the manager coming up off the pitch as well, even when he's not been playing. Yeah, which I think, again, is really nice. And it's the sort of thing I think that we probably suspect of the team, is that actually they are all so together. And we've heard that from Alex Samuel as well, I think, where, it doesn't really matter. They of course they want to be playing, but they are such a team. They're so together that they are all supporting one another. It's, it's not a case of them sitting there, hoping that actually the person doesn't have a good game so that they might have a chance on Saturday. So we were going to bring you the manager's reaction after the Millwall game, but that was the plan anyway. If you watch the game, you might remember that the weather wasn't particularly good, and that it was rather windy, which made the post-match interviews quite hazardous. Thought we were good. David Stockdale coming in, first game of the season, clean sheet. He's not going to want any more than that. Back four were good. Like I say, chances few and far between. A couple of penalty shots for both sides, but not one that's going to live in the memory of that one, is it? No, I've known you a long time. It was poor. It's either sort of recorded on the east coast of England, or it sounds like where the space shuttle is just lifting off. It does definitely sound like it was sort of like on the end of Southend Pier in a bit of a hurricane, doesn't it? Gareth and the reporters holding on to the railings for safety. And also there's a couple of things that you're sort of taught when you go into radio. One of them, if it is windy, just try and sort of like either position yourself sort of like where the wind is blowing, so that actually the microphone won't pick it up in the way that it clearly was there. Yes, or you can get these quite inexpensive devices to sort of help muffle the sound of the wind as well. Yes, or you could just use a clipboard or your bag or whatever. But clearly, yes, that particular person who's doing the interview, who I believe works for a national radio station, actually.
Yes, you'd really think they could have had better equipment.
Yes, you would have thought maybe they would have picked that.
Or perhaps, as you say, just facing in a different direction.
Indeed, anything. But anyway, yes. Thank you, Moose.
But a point, which is good, and real momentum, because you feel, especially with the Huddersfield result as well, and going into the game against Reading, which obviously we've spoken about on previous programmes, thinking, they're obviously pushing for promotion, Wycombe obviously at the bottom, and we've really kind of had the games, really, that we'd have been expected, if you like, to get points from.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it, that probably after the game, before we knew about Reading, we were probably thinking, a point, we really needed all three against Milwall because it's now going to be really hard with the fact we've got Reading and then Norwich and then Watford. But actually that point looks so much sort of newer and shinier, having beaten Reading. You then think, actually, no, that wasn't too bad. And, as Gareth did say after the game, that actually, if you can get points away from home, and win your home games, that's, that is the recipe for staying up. Well, that's exactly what we've done last two games. We got draw away and a win at home, and suddenly again the league table doesn't make quite such scary reading.
No, absolutely. We talked about how influential David Stockdale has been in the past two games, keeping clean sheets in both. We talk about as well the standards of reporters. Before the Reading game, David Stockdale spoke to a young budding journalist.
My name's Kian, I'm 10 years old, and my favourite player is Anthony Stewart.
Oh, nice. Good choice. Have we got a question, mate?
How does it feel? Is it easier to be a goalkeeper with no crowd or with a crowd?
With TV now, mate, it's all the same. Just normally get told off to your face rather than on social media. I enjoy fans in the ground. I like their interaction and being able to say hello and have a wave. So, I don't know. That's a good question, mate. I'd rather it with fans, but it might be easier without. It is weird hearing your own voice very loudly.
When did you first start playing football, and were you always a goalkeeper?
I started when I was 5, just because my dad played football. And no, I was probably the best striker you'll ever see. And that I was that good, they said, you have to go in net because it's not fair.
Behind the scenes news and how David Stockdale became a goalkeeper, and some excellent probing questions there from young Kian.
It was. I thought that was a really interesting question, and I think David didn't actually quite get what Kian was getting at, which is it easier that you can hear both your own players and the opposition when obviously there isn't a crowd there, because clearly that all probably gets quite drowned out.
No, absolutely.
Again, I'm not sure what the correct answer is, whether that is better or not. I know that we've already heard this season from David Wheeler, who very much said that actually he doesn't really notice the lack of crowd when he's in the middle of a game, because he says that you're so focused on what's going on that you do pretty much zone out, and that you only sort of come to, for want of a better word, like if there is a big stoppage in play, or if there's a goal, and then you hear and you sort of acknowledge what the crowd are doing, but actually the rest of the time you don't really pick up on them. But I think with a goalkeeper it's probably a little bit different, in that obviously you are really, really concentrating, particularly when there's a corner or something like that, and maybe it is a little bit easier, or maybe you can you can hear a little bit more and possibly judge what people are going to do when there isn't a crowd there as opposed to when there is.
Yes, I follow that entirely. No,
really good interview. I was impressed. I can see him on Wycombe Sound in the future, definitely.
Or hear him as well.
Indeed. Yes.
So briefly, just talk us through the drama of Tuesday night, because obviously getting a goal, a penalty miss on each side as well, and there's lots of other drama as well.
Oh, it was just amazing. The first half was interesting in that actually Reading were basically asleep for the first 15 minutes. And I think for the first time that I can ever remember, certainly this season, we seemed to have more possession for the first 15 minutes of a game than the opposition did. Then there was a lovely, lovely move from Jordan Knight, which as he burst into the penalty area, which then unfortunately seemed to wake Reading up, and they were pretty much then dominant for the next half an hour. beginning of the second half, obviously they came out very much in the same vein. You were slightly hoping that maybe we would have come back in the vein that we'd started the game. But then very much against the run of play. After 3 minutes of the second half, Fred pops up, and sneaks the ball in. Very much a poacher's goal, headed on by Anthony Stewart. I think the Reading keeper thought that actually he was going to be able to collect the ball, but no, Fred snuck in, to put the ball home. Things were then obviously the Reading put the pressure on, and you were thinking, goodness me, are we going to be able to hang on? Before then, Ryan Tafazoli committed a fairly bad foul, which was, I would say, just on the edge of the box. I think probably if we have VAR, it possibly will be shown that actually it happened just outside. But anyway, the referee was in absolutely no doubt, said it was a penalty, and also showed him the red card, which clearly doesn't happen very often. The double jeopardy rule, has sort of been stopped now. So, but I think the fact that Tafazoli didn't really seem to make any attempt to get the ball probably meant that actually it was a fair decision. Anyway, Reading then hit the bar with the penalty, which was rather unexpected. And from that then, about 15 minutes later, Uchi then ran into the penalty area, the Reading penalty area that is, probably the only attack that we managed really whilst we were down to 10 men. And goodness me, he got fouled and we got a penalty as well. Wycombe then, of course, missed the penalty. Uchi, it was one of those penalties you were watching and you thought, I really hope he absolutely hammers this. And he didn't. He sort of like tapped it to the Reading goalkeeper. And at that point, I think all Wycombe fans probably thought, oh, goodness me, this is going to now be so cruel that Reading are probably going to get an equaliser, if not a winner, when we could have been 2-0 up. But no, we stood firm, and really saw out the 5 minutes of added time very impressively, and really, really sensible, clever football from Wycombe. We won a lot of fouls, particularly in that 5 added on minutes, that really ensured that actually Reading never really looked like they were going to be able to snatch the points away from us. It very much, it wasn't like the Derby game when as soon as Derby got that free kick with seconds to go, it just, I don't know, you just got that foreboding feeling, and sure enough they scored. That didn't really happen to me on Tuesday night, although it did seem like a long, long time until the final whistle went. You could have probably almost fitted in the third test in between it from today, by the time that the referee had blown the whistle. But 3 points, and how unexpected against Reading, who remain 5th at the moment. But you then look at the table and you start to think, well, yeah, okay, we're now 8 points from safety. Birmingham in 21st. We've got a game in hand over them. Unfortunately, Rotherham and Sheffield Wednesday, who are just above us, they have 2 games in hand. But even so, it suddenly looks a little bit more doable than it did, say, this time last week.
Plenty of drama at Adams Park, and the manager spoke to the media after the game.
I'm guessing you haven't been involved in a 1-0 as exciting as that before, have you?
Listen, I've about 500 games. There's definitely a 1-0 in there somewhere as exciting as that, but not in the Championship, not against the team as the quality of Reading. But seeing the boys' efforts tonight is what I'm proud of. This, honestly and truthfully, results can come and go. When you're a manager and you see your boys putting that effort in and putting everything on the line and coming off in tears because they think they've let the team down. Uchi Ikpeazu, he was magnificent today again, absolutely superb. And he comes off almost in tears saying, sorry, Gaffer, I missed the penalty. That's fine, Uchi. As long as you keep giving me what you're giving me, the rest of the boys follow your lead. David Stockdale at the back in goal was phenomenal. I thought, he's an all his experience and shows why one day he was fancied for England, never mind Premier League. It's a great result for us against a fantastic Reading side. We've got to take so much confidence from this tonight and start believing what I've been saying all season. We're going to give this a right go.
I mean, the goal was very justified. I mean, good finish by Onyedinma to scrap it in. I mean, Reading did eventually start to attack, and when Ryan was sent off, were you thinking the worst, or were you just thinking, keep calm, it will be okay?
No, of course you think, it's going to be tough now. You're 10 men against the Championship side, and a top 5 Championship side, never mind anything else. So it was important that I kept my head straight, thinking about what I wanted to do, and we went to a 5 at the back and a 3, so I could keep the 3 in midfield because I thought that's where they were very strong, in that midfield area. That did leave us just one up top on his own. And again, I thought Uchi was fantastic. And then when Admiral Muskie came on, he really saw the game out well as well with his intelligence. And, the legs were important. Jason McCarthy coming in at wing back. It's all a real team effort. I've got Akim Fenwa, who's not even in the squad, shouting louder than anyone in the stand, and that for me is Wycombe. And that's what we are. We are together. And whatever happens, we'll be coming out swinging together in every single game. Can't wait for Sunday now. I'm sure some of the boys need a couple of days though.
Well, a quick word on David Stockdale. He was brilliant today, making some fantastic saves. I mean, he's been very patient and waiting for his chance to play for Wycombe again. How impressed have you been with him since he's come back into the side?
James, he's been brilliant since he walked through the door last season. He's a big reason we got promoted. People don't see what happened on the touchline and what the players who didn't play in the playoffs were. And David was one of them. His experience and his calmness. I mean, it's just so good to have in the squad. And he's been very patient. Ryan Allsop's had a fantastic season. He's made some brilliant saves, some magnificent saves. And David has been very patient and been right behind him. Now he's taking his turn. I think the timing of him going to Stevenage for 3 games was brilliant. It worked perfectly, and sometimes you get a bit of luck. I don't seem to have had any on referees' decisions this year, but maybe that's my little bit of luck of David being up to standard. He saved the penalty in his last game at Stevenage, and I can probably say he's played a big part in that one not going in today, because I think himself and Lee Harrison, my goalkeeping coach, did some work on Lucas Giles' penalties. So, it's a fantastic time for him to come in, and I'm sure all the keepers are right behind him, and they're all buzzing that he's keeping clean sheets. Clean sheets will keep us in the Championship. So 15 more, please, Dave.
And with Ryan, what's the injury update on him?
Yeah, he had a scan. He's got an injury that's definitely going to keep him out for a couple of weeks. So we're going to have to keep you updated on that. It's not a normal injury, but that means it could be a bit longer or a bit shorter. We don't know. It's it's not your normal hamstring or your normal groin injury. It's just a little bit different. So we'll keep you posted on that. But that's why we've got 2 quality keepers here. And like I say, I can't thank David enough for being so patient and so understanding when he's not been in the side. But it's a testament to everyone that when you do get your chance, take it and grab it with both hands, and excuse the pun, because he's your goalkeeper.
And finally, for me, a nice easy game on Sunday against the league leaders. I mean, the win today will give everyone the massive confidence. I mean, what are your thoughts going into the game against Norwich?
Performance is what I want. Performance is always what I want. And I've said that for the last 8 years. I've been very performance-based, and they will get you results. And as long as we keep focusing on the processes, then we'll get what we deserve. We have a chance to beat Norwich, without a doubt. I think at Carrow Road, we took them very close. I've got an amazing amount of respect for Daniel Farker. He's a top guy, and I'm looking forward to nothing less than a real tough test. I mean, Cantwell and Pookie and Aarons and Hanley, they've got some fantastic players, some international players. But I've got some names emerging in this Wycombe side that I think people are going to start noticing, start finding out, and we have a chance to stay in the Championship. And as long as it's mathematically possible, you will not see any other rhetoric than me saying we can do this.
I feel their penalty miss, is that a break you've earned, given what's happened in recent weeks?
It's not really. I think it was some clever play by David Stockdale as well. I think there's some pressure being put on Joe, and the mental side of penalties is really tough. I used to take them myself. And they're not as easy as they look, especially with someone who's experienced as Stocky in the goal. So to answer your question, is that payback for all the luck? No, not at all. We've been on the wrong end of so much this season. I'm just waiting for that to come back. I'm hoping it'll come back this season, but we'll see.
That's 7 points from the last 4 games. It's got the gap at the bottom down at 8 points. How much of a psychological boost is it that the gap is down in single figures now? Does that have an effect?
Well, it's an unbelievable achievement for everyone at this club to have this total, never mind another total. People have said we should be nowhere near the Championship, and when you look at the size of the club, they're correct. But this club is building towards being a Championship team. I can't thank the Couigs enough. Rob and Pete have backed me throughout. There's been never any scares for me or anything. They've just been 100% behind me and backed everything I've wanted to do. The crazy thing is that we've had so little for so long that now we've got a little bit. We've probably not spent it as much as maybe other teams would have, but I don't want to ever put this club at risk either, and I know Rob doesn't. So we're going to try and do it the right way, and performances like that is the right way. It's great. It's a massive psychological boost, like you say, but I think the boys believed before the game, never mind after the game. It just enhances what they all think. They all still think we can stay in this league. I can't, as a manager, that's all I need. I know all I need is that belief. And I put them out there, give them a few instructions, but it's down to them. And at the moment, they're really delivering for me.
I suppose that's the next step now, isn't it? To get the teams just above you, looking over their shoulders, because they may not have been looking at Wycombe in recent weeks, but they are now. I'm
hoping so. Might have put a bit of added pressure on it. Listen, we haven't been above that line all season, and there's plenty of teams that are dropping below that line. Like I say, all our aim is to get above that line. That is all we want to do, and that's been it all season. And it'd be just like Wycombe Wanderers to achieve that. A much more positive Gareth Ainsworth speaking after the game against Reading at Adams Park. We'll be chatting to former defender Matt Crossley next here at Wycombe Sound.
This is Wycombe Sound.
If you're listening last week to the Wycombe Wanderers Show, firstly, thank you. You'll know that we had local hero Mark West on. I'm very pleased to say this week we can chat to one of his teammates and also someone I saw play very many times in the heart of the defence. You've made over 300 appearances. I'm very pleased to say we can chat this evening to Matt Crossley. Very good evening to you. Hello, sir.
Yeah, evening to you and evening to everybody. Yep, very good, thanks.
So it's fantastic to have you on, and obviously not too many have put on the Wycombe Wanderers shirt more than 300 times, such as yourself.
No. I mean, when I look back, I can't believe it, really. Getting taken from Hampshire League by Jim Kelman and playing a few games for Jim, and then Martin coming in and for playing. I've played Martin's first game and played in his last game, and it was, it was, looking back, it was hard work, but it was well worth it in the end, well worth it.
It must have felt such a special time as well, because we had Glenn Creaser on as well for one of the first Wycombe Wanderers ex-Players Association members that we had on, and I remember obviously watching as a youngster, and how many, it was very difficult to sort of get past you as a defensive unit. Not me personally, I didn't do it, but for me, I probably couldn't have if I tried. But for many teams, you kept a lot of them out.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I played with some great defenders. There was Andy Kerr, Glyn, Terry Evans, Jason Cousins, just to name a few. But no, I mean, that was our job. It was very, when Martin came in, it was very simplified by us. It was keep as many clean sheets as you can, keep the ball sometimes, if it's got to be kicked or headed as far away from our goal as possible, do that, and just really concentrate on defending. And I think the game's changed a bit now, but I mean, in my day, defenders actually enjoyed defending, and I took just a bigger thrill out of keeping a clean sheet than I was going to say than scoring, but I didn't score many anyway. But a clean sheet, come off the pitch with a clean sheet, and especially a win was everything. Yep.
No, I was going to touch on the goals you scored. Not too many, but there were a couple that were especially influential, especially in the FA Trophy.
Yeah. That was yeah. I mean, I scored two. I've never scored two in a game before that, anyway, or afterwards. But no, I didn't. I think the week before we lost 3-2. I didn't play in that game. I had a virus for about 4 or 5 days during the week, building up to the Sutton at home game, and I came to the ground. Martin said, "Are you okay to play?" I said, "I'm okay." David Jones and the doctor said, "I don't think he should play because I lost half a stone." And funny enough, I went in and watched the Grand National while the game was on, because I was so devastated that I couldn't play. And but then I think we played Woking during the week, drew 0-0, and then Martin changed the team completely because we lost at that game, and he thought he'd go for it. And we were so hyped up for this game. It was. I mean, Martin says to me now, he said it's in his top 5 games of all time since he's been a manager, and I think, really? And he's quite genuine when he said it was in his top 5 games. That Sutton away game, which we won 4-0, and I was very lucky to score 2 goals, and I think go down and do as one of the worst celebrations you've ever seen in football as well.
Can you remember if the Grand National was a good race as well? Was that very good or not so much?
I can't remember who won. I remember sitting in there thinking, I can't believe I'm not playing in this game. It was a massive crowd at Wycombe. It might have been virtually a full house for the semi-final. And, I mean, obviously, you listen to what the doctor and the physio says, and I was one of these players who, if I wasn't involved and we won, I didn't like being in the changing room because, I mean, I played most of the time, to be honest, but it being in the changing room, it didn't feel right to me, if you know what I mean. But so, yeah, I remember watching the Grand National, but I remember watching some of the game as well, but gutted that we'd lost that game, but, you know, things turned out well for me in the end. So
there must have been so many landmark occasions to be involved with, you know, the FA Trophy final we mentioned at Wembley, the getting promotion to the Football League, and even just sort of moving from Blokes Park to Adams Park must have been, you know, quite sort of great times to be at the club.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was funny. I mean, it was mainly under Jim Kelman at Blokes Park, and I was only a young 19, 20-year-old just running around like a lunatic, and we did okay with Jim at Blokes Park, and then obviously Martin came in, and funny enough, I remember the last game at Blokes Park. Martin said to me, "Do you remember Pete Lansley used to do the I think it was the Bucks Free Press. Pete Lansley, do you remember the reporter?
Yes.
I'm not sure if you remember. Yeah. Pete did the Bucks Free Press, and we played the Martin O'Neill International 11 last game of the season, and I think Pete had it in for me for, you know, he's not quite good enough, and before the game, Martin came up to me and he said, you got to mark George Best, and whatever you do, don't tackle him, let him go round you every single time. I said, okay, fair enough. And we played in the game, and then I remember reading in the paper a couple of days later, Pete landed on a bit. He's not good enough for the club. He's not good enough club. You know, he can't even get near George Best, who's 45 or 50. And I'm thinking, hold on a minute, Martin's just told me, you know, not to go near him. But, yeah, I mean, I'll get on all right with Pete now anyway. So it was just one of those things. But as I say, I was a bit young and naive in those days, and as a footballer. But going into Adams Park with Martin and all the times we had, you know, Martin made it. He simplified the game, as I said, and everybody knew what they had to do, and he got a team in which sort of everyone bought into the way, you know, he wanted to do it, like Martin has done over the years with different.
Oh, we seem to have lost Matt with a bit of oh, no, he's back.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think your internet froze there slightly.
Oh, did it? Did you miss me? Sorry, it must be boring myself. So.
No, it was great to hear about, obviously, playing under Martin O'Neill, as you say, and it must be a fantastic occasion to be sort of part of that team as well, and it was a pretty sort of settled side that you had in those days as well.
Oh, no, it was. I mean, as I say, Jim, I think the first trophy final we played in, 9 of the players, Jim brought in. And sort of Martin came in and, as I say, just made it completely. Jim was great. I get on well with Jim still. I speak to him now and again. And I thought Jim was a great manager. But Martin came in and everybody knew what their jobs was. He made us like think on our feet on the pitch. There was no set way of playing. It was just trying to win the game. You know, if we played a game where we could pass the ball about, we passed the ball about. If we played a game where we had to sort of kick it in the channels all game, we did. And, you know, as long as we won, he was happy, you know. You didn't want to get on the wrong side of Martin. And if we lost, you soon knew it, you know. I came in for a few of those rollickings. He always said, when other players played well, he was selling them to Real Madrid, but when I played well, he always told me he was selling me to Maidenhead or Basingstoke. You know, but I played most of the games for him, so and I still speak to him now. And we always have got on well. He's a great manager and also a great person. Yep.
So you must have done really well, because to my knowledge, you didn't end up at Maidenhead or Basingstoke.
Oh no, that was great. It was just one of his things. He always says, like, he'll say to Keith Ryan or whatever, you were brilliant today. You were brilliant, Kel. I'm going to try and sell you to Real Madrid. And he'll say to me after a game, you were brilliant today. He said, I'm going to ring up Maidenhead or Basingstoke to see if I can sell you there. All the other players who were going to it was either me or Keith Scott were going to Maidenhead or Basingstoke.
Did you realise at the time that perhaps Martin would go on to do so well at the likes of Leicester and Celtic and Villa and the Republic of Ireland as well?
I think, look, when you're there at the time, we knew he was going to move on. We knew he was going to move on, at some stage, and we were lucky that he stayed. That I think he could have gone a year earlier. He stayed that extra year, and we had a good. I think it was in the League One where that extra season he stayed. It was the only season I think where only 2 teams went up, and we ended up 6th in the league. If we'd have ended up 6th in the league at any other time, we'd have been in the playoffs for the Championship, as the team were today. But we knew he was going to move on, and I've kept in touch with him all through the years. My good friend is Steve Guppy, and I speak to him every week still. And I even done some work for Martin at Notts Forest. I watched some players for him, and I was drinking coffee with him the week we went into lockdown in March last year. It was during Cheltenham Festival, and we couldn't believe that that was still on. But yeah, it was. He's a great man, and as I say, great manager, and even more great person.
And how did you find the step up personally from non-league to the Football League? I mean, everyone remembers the Carlisle game, and it was such a sort of a momentous occasion. But did you notice much of a difference?
Yeah, definitely. It was I remember speaking with Keith Wright, because Keith, most of it had done. I can remember the conversation with him saying, "I can't believe how hard it is." Like getting this after the first few games. The step up. I think it might have been good. Teams were full time and professional, and the fitness side of things, and the centre forwards were slightly better than they were in the conference, and I think I'd say it took about 10-15 games to get into the swing of things, but I think we had quite a decent start anyway. But no, it was we found it, and when we went up to League One, because we'd been professional for a year, I think we found it a bit easier, and we were quite comfortable in that league as well. So yeah.
You must have been so pleased to have such a connection with the club as well, as you say, playing over 300 appearances for them, and staying at the one team for such a long period. Yeah. I had no intention. I never had an agent or any. A few of the players did have agents, but I never had an agent. It was at the end of each sort of. I think I was only signing 2 years contract from when I had 2 to 1 year contract from the day I went to the day I left, and I remember signing contract to Martin, and Martin sort of virtually writing them out himself. I just said, you go and write it down, and he'd say, don't say anything when you go and see Ivor, and I'd have a couple of quid on top, and just sign it and stayed where I was. I was enjoying it. It was hard work. As in I can say that every single game I played, you had to be bothered to play for Martin when Martin was manager anyway. So I enjoyed every minute except when we lost, because Martin was on your back. And you must be such a proud member of the Ex-Players Association as well. It's such a great kind of club, if you like, to be part of with regard to former players who've been through similar experiences.
Yeah. We keep in touch. I really enjoy going to. I think I might have missed one. I can't remember over the years at the dinner, but I try and make events, and I definitely go to all the dinners. And the team sort of in the early 90s, we've got a little WhatsApp group. We've got about 10, 12 players in there, and we someone's putting a joke on there every day, or we keep in touch with each other all the time. We meet on the South Bank in London. We haven't, obviously, because of the situation at the moment, but we meet in there. Like sometimes there might be 10 of us, and we have a drink. We're too old now to go meet at night, because we have to get to bed. So we meet at lunchtime and have a couple of drinks, something to eat, and then it's quite easy. We all get the train from different areas and meet on the South Bank. Yeah, so we'll keep in touch, and I've got some great friends, through my time at Wycombe as well, from top to bottom, people. Yeah.
So aside from the last 12 months, where not many people have been doing not much at all, what are you up to sort of these days?
Well, I've got a small gardening business, which I had been able to work all the way. It was quite over the Christmas, over the winter, which it does. I've got a small signs sort of franchise as well, which I work with. So I've got like they're like two part-time jobs, but it's full-time, if you know what I mean. In the gardening's going to pick up again now, and so I've been I was quite busy, you know, over it. I mean, it was a bad time, but I was quite happy to carry on working, you know. I can't sit at home all day.
No, definitely. You must be so pleased as well to see the team where they are now as well.
Yeah, I mean, what I feel so sorry for is the fans, you know, hopefully, you know, you never know in football, you know. You always hear of a great escape. You always hear of these, I mean, I heard Gareth talking just a minute ago, you always hear of these great escapes, and obviously, you know, if they stay up, it'd be unbelievable. But I just feel sorry for you know, you have a season in the Championship, we're going to be great teams which are in there, you know, there's some big teams in there, great grounds to go to, and I'm sure Adams Park would have been filled up virtually every other week, and it would have been just brilliant. And also, you know, when you got a crowd in at home, you know, it's makes a difference with the results as well. But you know, it's the first result I look for every week anyway. So you know, I was looking at how many points now, how many points behind, you know. So no, it's brilliant achievement, unbelievable.
And do you have a bit of a soft spot for the defenders as well? Do you look out for the current players who play in your position? Are you still there?
Oh, no, he's disappeared.
Oh, no.
I could do my best Matt impression if you want.
Do you look out for current midfielders, defenders, and think?
I do, yes.
Well, I
very much like defenders.
Sorry, Matt, I think we lost you. I was just asking.
I was just doing an impression.
Bob was filling in for you. He was your stunt double. Didn't adequate position. No, sorry, we were just asking. Do you sort of have a particular soft spot for current defenders as well, players in the current side who play in your position?
At Wycombe at the moment.
Yes,
say, or just any defenders.
Well, yeah, both, I suppose. Because as you say, the game's quite different now.
Yeah. Yes, as I say, I haven't. I can't remember when I went to a game about 18 months ago, I think. No, sorry, when I was watching a game for Notts Forest, I came to the ground a couple of times, and I quite like the lad at centre half, Charles.
Yes,
when they played. Are you still there?
Yeah, Darius Charles.
Hello.
Oh no, apologies. Matt's we are one of the internets, I suppose. But fantastic to speak to you.
I think it's hidden.
Oh no, he's back.
yes, I'm back. No, yeah, the centre half I quite liked playing there. I think he might have even got man of the match that night. Charles, is it surname Charles? Are you still there?
Yes, Darius Charles.
That's it, yeah. I quite liked him. That you know, as I say, one of the games he played well in that game. But no. To say defending is a different art nowadays. I mean, you got to get the ball off the goalkeeper in the 6-yard box, you know. And I'm thinking, what a fancy doing that. You know, I was quite happy, you know, to have the ball at my feet about 40 yards further on from the goal, you know. But I do put my head in my hands sometimes. I think the amount of goals teams give away by, you know, trying to play it out at the back when they don't have to play it out at the back. I'm all for it, but you know, if you don't, that's what we come back to Martin. He was like, he let you think on your feet. If you can do it, no problem. If you can't do it, think of something else to do. It was like that. Was no set way of doing it. Yeah.
Fantastic. It's been brilliant to share your memories. Thank you so much for your time, and great to be able to speak to you.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Colin. Thanks a lot, Bob. And I will catch up with you whenever.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Matt Crossley speaking to us here at Wycombe Sound.
This is Wycombe Sound.
Welcome back to the final part of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, or Extra Time, as we're calling it. Coming up, we'll do a brief preview, although we heard from Gareth, but we'll chat to Bob about the Norwich game. But first... Sorry, I was still thinking about the early interview with David Stockdale. That was tickling me. Kean and his quite excellent questions. We'll have to have him on again. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Chatting to David Stockdale. Earlier in the week, actually prior to the Reading game, I caught up with Wycombe Wanderers forward Alex Samuel to discuss all sorts of things, but started by asking him about the fantastic pre-match team talk that he gave, which literally inspired the win against Huddersfield.
Before Huddersfield, you know, I think, you know, when we were playing, you could see that there was, you know, we've just taken an absolute battering for the last few games. So I just thought, coming in into that changing room before that game, and I just said, look, I've been in these situations before when I was at Newport, and I think we had like 12 games left and 12 points, deficit. So, I've been in these situations before personally, and I was just saying, and obviously, with Newport, we managed in the final 10 minutes to make, to stay up in the Football League. So I understand the pressures of what we're going through now. So I just thought, what an amazing story this will be, and, everyone again, from the first start of the season has written Wycombe off. And it's, again, there's, I can't remember how many, I think 18 games at that point left. And I said, look, do not give up yet. We've got to keep pushing. And what an amazing story this will be for us to stay up. And, it was, like I said, for the manager to recognise that. And obviously it was really a boost for me as well, and a boost for the team. So, yeah, and obviously you could see the belief, and the team did absolutely amazing on against Huddersfield. And, hopefully now that's kind of sparked us off to have a good run in at the end of the season.
I think it certainly feels like it. And does it feel, we were talking on the show a few weeks ago, and does it feel as players that it was really kind of the Preston FA Cup game where, again, you felt like progress was really being made, and then unfortunately you had the 2 games postponed as well? That must have kind of really, really derailed things.
Yeah, it was unfortunate just because obviously, we had such a great performance against Preston, and, football is such a game of momentum, and that's something that we always talk about, especially at Wycombe, is momentum, even in a game, how momentum changes. But certainly after that win, it was frustrating for us just because obviously we had, the 2 games called off, and then even just having a few days with, I think the snow hit before the Tottenham game as well. And it was quite frustrating, just, preparation time. And yeah, it was frustrating, but that's what I mean. We've just had to really buckle up and keep going, really. And I think Huddersfield is something that I think we deserved for a long time, I think, because I think there's been performances we've played really well, and just some things, decisions from referees or, just unfortunate circumstances that hasn't, has been against us, really. So I think, the Huddersfield game really, it was just amazing to just get the win.
It was a fantastic feeling, obviously, for fans, and obviously for yourselves as players as well. And to come from 2-0 down in the way that you did too.
Yeah, it felt like, Wycombe was back, really. The amount of games, that even the years that I've been here where we've been behind, and that never give up mentality. And I think that was something that, for me personally, was amazing to see that the team was able to turn it around, just because I think that's what Wycombe's all about, is that never give up mentality and to keep pushing even when it looks impossible. And, that's something that we're going to be going into this end of season with, that belief, that nothing is impossible, and to never quit until, that final game, that final whistle. So that's to be assured, even for every Wycombe fan, to know that we're not going to give up, and we're going to keep pushing until that final whistle, and we're going to fight. And yeah, we're just going to keep believing.
Because this month seems to have been so congested for you for fixtures, and I'm sure, fans, and again, I don't know as players, but there's a group of fixtures that you've had now against a lot of teams that have been in and around you in the table, and then sort of coming up, you've got sort of teams against, much higher up.
Yeah, so obviously we understand we've got some really big games coming up, and I think it's funny, isn't it, in football? A lot of times you think, looking at the table, or we're going to struggle here. But, at the end of the day, anything can happen in a football match. And we've seen, I think, even last year and the year before in League One, those teams we were coming up against, and we actually took more points off the big clubs than we did, like, with the teams around us. So I think it's nothing, it's something obviously not to write us off with these big challenges ahead, because I think we even shown early in the season that we can match these teams, like Norwich, Reading, where it was a very close game. So, and I even think that we've improved and progressed as a team. So who knows what coming up against these teams that we'll do.
It must be so encouraging as well from your time in the Championship. You've literally only lost 2 games quite heavily. The rest, as you say, loads of great chances have been created. Refereeing decisions don't seem to, it must be a real feeling that you should have so many more points than you've got.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what's been the encouraging thing for us as well. Like, it's been I can think even just on one hand, the games where we've truly put our hands up and say, yeah, we were well beaten that day. Most of the games we've been really well in it, well contested, and, we've been in the games. And it's just, I think, just tidying up on these final little details now in front of goal, defence, all over the pitch, really, that I think in this last end of the season we'll pick up the points that I think we deserve from the whole season.
And the January edition seemed to have made a real impact as well. How have they settled in?
Yeah, brilliant. I think it's good and needed for us as a team just to bolster up, and even just to bring in even more competition, I think is always a good thing as well. And it kind of pushes everyone on. So they've settled in really well. And as a team, we're looking forward to progressing and moving forward.
Because I think every Saturday and Tuesday, when you see the team sheet, you think it's so positive, such a sort of attacking players, and we can cause teams a lot of problems. Yeah,
exactly. Like, that's the thing. I think it's just more weapon in the arsenal, so it's really good. Obviously, Gaffer has got a lot of decisions to make, because we do have a lot of quality on that pitch and especially on the bench as well. So, yeah, it's always good to have a team where you have choices, and that's something that I think as Wycombe, the last years we haven't had the privilege of having that, so I think we're in a good position.
And as players, are you still enjoying, if you like, the chance of playing in the Championship and coming up against some of the teams that you are facing, or is it just not quite as good being at the bottom of the table?
No, I think it's amazing. When you see some team sheets and the oppositions you're playing against, you think, wow, this is who, this is where we're at the moment. So every game, I think, especially every team in the Championship you come up against, you've got multi-million-pound players in there. So it's amazing. For me personally, I don't take it for granted at all, just because I understand, how amazing this opportunity is. So it's always a pleasure to play, especially at this caliber. I think it's the 5th biggest league in the world, so it's amazing to be a part of that.
And so great to hear the manager speaking so positively as well, despite the sort of the league position. But is that something that's reflected in the mood in the dressing room as well?
Yeah, definitely. We've been playing really well recently, and I think we've just got to keep that again, like we discussed earlier, that not giving up mentality, and that's something that we've just got to keep together, keep tight as a team, and that belief and that pushing forward as one is going to be the thing that will keep us up in this league. So that's what I mean. We just got to keep pushing and keep moving forward.
I mean, I think that's something that really comes across in the games as well, sort of how hard the players are trying and how positive and how you don't give up.
Yeah, exactly. You could see even that belief of just keep going, not giving up, which is obviously very encouraging, because it's easy as a team in our position. It's probably easier just to throw the towel in, but that's not what we're about. We're about giving every ounce of our energy and what we decide to keep pushing forward and to keep moving and to keep, like I said, not to give up.
Because as we sort of mentioned, I know football doesn't really work like this, but you'd think you'd see Milwall coming up, especially at home on the fixture list, and you'd think, oh, this will be really tough. But to get a point against them and to keep a clean sheet must have felt quite good.
Yeah, especially we've unfortunately been leaking a lot of goals. So for us as a team, I think, especially defensively as well, that was a real boost for us just to go, right, okay, we can actually do really well against again, like you said, in the Den. Against Milwall, a very tough opposition with very tough circumstances. I mean, the pitch didn't help. It was a real fight. We brought that fight and we matched them, and in some parts even overmatched them. So it is really encouraging for us.
I was going to say, it must feel good to have 2 positive results in the last 2 games.
Yeah, exactly, and that's something that we'll definitely take into these last few games now, and we look forward to just seeing and keep believing. And I'm excited to see kind of, like I said, it only takes a couple of wins to get on, to that momentum moving. And I think we do have momentum at the moment, and that's something that is very important and we want to keep on top of.
And obviously, as you mentioned, the division is so tight and it can be so easy for other teams to get dragged down into it, which will help as well, because it'll mean you'll have, less points to make up, really.
Exactly. And you just never know what could end up at the end of the season. We saw in the Championship last year the fact that, teams can lose points at the end of the season. I mean, it's all very possible. So I think for us, it's just right. Let's get as many points as we can. And I think it's important as well for us just to take it game by game. You know, if you start looking too forward ahead, you know, you kind of lose the aspect of what we need to do in the next game. So we're just taking it game by game and, you know, going, right, we can win this, and moving forward like that.
And it is, as you said earlier, a great message that it's, you know, it's still only February and there's still a lot to ready to play for.
Exactly. There is so much to play for. There's so many games left. And like I said, all we need is that couple of wins and it changes things. And then, you know, the teams above us start panicking, and it can change so quickly. Like in football, things can change very quickly. So we've just got to keep going, keep having that attitude of not giving up, and keep pushing forward, keep pushing the team. And yeah, let's see what happens. I'm sure that we're going to see an exciting end of the season.
I remember Pete Killick saying at the beginning of the season to stay in the Championship would be an even better experience or achievement than getting there in the first place.
Yeah, it will be. And anything is possible in football. And I've experienced it as a footballer. So that we have that belief. We believe that as a team as well. We believe that we can do it. We believe that we've shown what we can do as well in this league. And it's something that we're going to keep pushing forward and fighting for.
And what will be your message to supporters at this time? Keep
believing, keep being there for us, keep supporting us, keep cheering us on at homes, because that means the world to us as well. And you know, as from the club, you know, thank you for your support, really, because know how tough it's been for everyone. Not just, you know, it's been a tough season, but also, you know, how tough it's been as well outside of football as well. And, you know, just thank you for your support, really, and let's stay up in the Championship.
And I'd be very remiss not to mention that you must be very proud of another achievement shortly in the Samuel household of a debut album coming out very soon.
Yes, I am. She's so proud of her. Obviously, Ray Sam, obviously known as Rachel for me. Yeah, I'm so proud of her. She's obviously gone for her dreams, and that's something that I'm so proud of her of. And yeah, really excited, honestly, on a new album that's coming out. There's some incredible songs, so I'm excited to for all of you to hear that as well, because it's exciting times ahead.
And how was appearing in a music video?
It's good. It's very good. I got to say, I did enjoy myself. You never know. I was thinking maybe after a football career, you know, maybe this is something I need to look into. But you know what? That's got a long time ahead for that. So I'll just stick with football at the moment.
It's a good advice, isn't it? You want Alex to focus on his football career and not appearing in pop videos. That can be very distracting.
That's very true. That definitely sounds like, you know, he's got time after his career to do the pop videos.
Absolutely. But as we touched on earlier in the show, it's been so much more positive, hasn't it? And there's so much more uplifting feel, and fans as well. They a lot of them, you know, a week or so ago kind of given up, and now it's much more, you know, we're going to stay in the Championship and relishing the challenge of the top v bottom clash this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, Norwich really flying at the moment at the top of the division. They've won their last 4 games, most recently on Tuesday they beat Birmingham City 3-1, and yes, are currently top with 67 points, which I'm just doing the maths. I think we can still just about, maybe we could just about catch them up, maybe not. I think possibly those days are past, that actually automatic promotion, but I think we can still make the playoffs just about.
Yeah, fantastic, as long as no one else plays.
Well, yeah, indeed, absolutely. Yeah, if we could have lots of postponements, then that would be handy. But yeah, you know, of course, it's going to be tough. That's a very obvious thing to say, but yes, it is going to be tough. But I would much rather us be facing Norwich, having just beaten Reading 1-0, and having this amazing optimism that suddenly seems to be surging through the team, than not. You know, if we'd sort of like drawn with Milwall and lost rather badly to Reading, then obviously, you know, this Sunday could be one of those slightly unwatchable games. Let's really, really hope that it's not that. You know, we were fantastic against Norwich last time, losing 2-1 to a very, very late free kick. You could definitely have said that actually Norwich should have been down to 10 men very early in that game. So I think, you know, as with all Wycombe games, there is a chance. Championship, it's a funny old division. You never know.
And as we touched on Tuesday, say as well, 8 points from safety sounds so much better than 12 a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and just, mentally, just looking at that table, it looks so much more doable all of a sudden. Even though we've now got to play Norwich, and don't forget, Norwich is 12 o'clock on Sunday. It's not a Saturday kickoff, it's 12 o'clock on Sunday. And then Watford today has been moved to a 7 o'clock kickoff, and that is on Wednesday. So 7 o'clock on Wednesday, 12 o'clock on Sunday, the next two Chairboys games.
Good admin news there from Bob. Hope you've enjoyed the show this week. Fantastic chat to Matt Crossley. Do join us at the same time next week. We'll be hearing from former manager Brian Lee in the week that he turns 85. Very much looking forward to catching up with him as the Wycombe Wanderers Show continues here at Wycombe Sound.